He has worked in the motorsports industry since he was just 15 years old. He purchased his first motorcycle store in 1988, and at one time, he owned as many as 6 Harley-Davidson dealerships. You know, he's one of those rare leaders who truly credits his success to surrounding himself with talented people. Peter Drucker once famously stated that, businesses can't exist just for profit. They must exist to improve the environment in which they operate. And my guest today is a terrific exemplar of that idea. He's worked with Blessings in a Backpack, the Muscular Dystrophy Association, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Any Soldier, PACE, and many other groups supporting veterans, children, and others in need. He's an award-winning entrepreneur who works hard and rides hard. My conversation today is with the CEO of Scott Fischer Enterprises, none other than the man himself, Scott Fischer. Scott, you consolidated your retail points. At one point, I think you had 6 Harley-Davidson dealerships. You consolidated your retail points. You're transitioning into a new business. What might other dealers learn from you making those decisions and your transition process? What might other dealers learn?
Well, look, I think, Mark, first of all, I've actually been in the motorcycle business about 40 something years. It's kind of hard to imagine. I've been in Florida as a Harley dealer for 34 years.
Staggering.
And I'm still a Harley dealer today.
Yeah.
So, and I'm still very involved in the motorsports, but primarily Harley Davidson business. But I think, when you ask me the question about what might people learn, people ask me that a lot today, and it's not just people in the motorcycle business, but I think when I turned about 50 years old, my focus was that I needed to really look at succession. I needed to understand succession because succession is a very important part of being an entrepreneur. You have this great business, you got a lot of people around you, you got family. I began to see after quite a few years, I wanted to have an exit strategy. And I wanted the exit strategy because I want to make sure that was possible. I think what's important is when people don't have an exit strategy, they never exit. And I think that's what's really important. It's very difficult to exit. It's very personal. As entrepreneurs, you build this business and people and your community tree reaches out into your communities. And, it's very difficult to exit.
Yeah.
So while it was very difficult and very emotional, I don't regret any of it. I don't regret any of it because it allowed me to really, have a second time in my career, where I've been able to look at things much different today. The thing that I would really recommend to entrepreneurs in business, fellow Harley dealers, dealer principals is, very important to have a great professional advisory group. And when I get asked that question often, people say, "Oh, I can't afford big advisory people." Well, they're not expensive in most cases because we have accountants already, we have estate attorneys already, we have tax attorneys already. We have these people, and these individuals want to actually be a part of succession planning. And succession planning creates so much opportunity, not just for me, but for our families. And for, quite frankly, I've got key people that had benefited from my succession.
Yeah.
So when you ask me about consolidating and what would I advise people, I just would advise people that make it a very important part of your planning, because people don't spend time planning succession. And I always say, if you don't plan it, you'll never have it. And I think that's what's important.
Okay, so a couple of things that I'm hearing. So you need a sounding board. You need objective third-party perspectives on your thoughts, because this can be so emotional. I mean, it's Scott Fischer Enterprises, for goodness sakes. I mean, your name is the brand.
Right.
And then it requires real thought, intellectual lifting, and cognitive effort because it's important.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. It is very emotional. I mean, you know, I actually went through the process with an estate attorney, with a tax attorney, with my business coach. About they pressed me on, look, you don't have to have succession, but if you don't have it, you never will, because we can't let go of things. As entrepreneurs, you build these businesses, you can't let go of them. You can
Yeah.
always do them bigger, and you want to pull the people around you. So I think that's what's really important. And I just will tell you, I mean, I drive by the Harley store in Fort Myers almost every day, and for a while that was very difficult, very emotional.
I bet.
Now it's called Rockstar Harley Davidson. It's not even the name we had.
Yeah.
But that doesn't bother me because I really see what they do. I hear what they do. It's not that I agree with everything that they do, but it challenges me to still stay very engaged in what's happening in that community, in our marketplace.
Well, let's talk about that particular point, because I think was it back at 2014, where we had 16 acres, 17 acres. I mean, you built this like it could only be described as a dealership and entertainment complex.
Yes.
Did you retain any ownership of that real estate, or no? You sold the whole kit and caboodle?
Oh no, we sold, we partialed the Harley Davidson store and a writing academy off to the new owners, and we still had Top Rocker Field, and that consisted of another 9 acres, and we continue to do events and really a lot of charitable functions there. The nonprofits need a place that doesn't cost them a lot of money, and I really my succession beyond the Harley store was to really drive a lot of community events, a lot of fundraising activities in that property. Now, I will tell you that I'm pretty excited that part of it is under contract and the other part of it has sold. So I am having succession from that as well, because the community work takes a lot of time and as much commitment to time and accountability as running a Harley store.
Yeah. All right. So I want to come back to your passion for nonprofits and community involvements in just a bit. So, you decided to sell your points, consolidate down for succession, so you can look forward and go to the next chapter. But you kept Thunderbird.
Thunderbird, yes.
What made you decide to keep that particular point?
Well, first of all, that particular point was one of the best points that we've had. We've had it for over 15 years.
Yeah.
I've got a great partner in Sean Delaney, who's been with me for 18 years.
Yeah.
And, Sean has been a committed partner with me, that I've really tried to roll into being, an equity partner, of which he is today. He is the operating partner. Sean handles really 100% of what happens in Albuquerque, and my commitment to Sean was, he done so much for my growth over the years that I wanted to keep Thunderbird, not only because it was a great store, and quite frankly, with all the consolidation I did, Thunderbird is still a business that provides me, quite frankly, everything I need. So it was kind of a perfect storm. When we went through the process of consolidating and moving off stores, I was able to take all of that consolidation, all that value of consolidation, because a lot of value there because of real estate and everything.
Sure.
And continue a business of investment and still be in the Harley business and be able to have the kind of funding that I need to continue my lifestyle.
So when you say it gives you everything you need, do you mean in terms of income, or both income and the 1 foot still in the Harley business?
Both. Yes,
Okay.
both. Yes, absolutely. Income and with Sean is perfect for me because all he wants is quite like a coach, someone to say, hey, here's what I'm doing, someone to push on his ideas. And, what better situation when you don't want your partner in your garden, yet your partner's got a lot of experience to really share with you or to push back on things. And we work really good together because of
Okay,
it.
yeah, well, let's talk about that for just a second, because a lot of people tell me that Sean is one of, if not the best operator in the country, and I would tend to agree. What do you specifically like about his leadership style?
Because Sean demonstrates all the things that I would say that we demonstrate all the things that we've learned and believed in. And primarily it's people and data.
Yeah.
And Sean never lets the business strategies that come out of data research and so on and so forth get in the way of putting people first. And I think it's extremely important. People always say, I don't know how that business has such great customer experience. Well, it doesn't happen by accident. It
Yeah.
takes significant investment of time by the leaders of businesses. Leaders of businesses want great customer experience, but they're not willing to put in the time,
Right.
which costs money.
Right.
Time costs money, and it's so hard to measure. So health in a business doesn't have a lot of measuring tools. The only real measuring tools is that people talk about how great it is. So
Yeah.
so to answer your question specifically, I think it's that Sean and I really are aligned on what we know is most important, and you have to manage the data. I mean, data. I always say, let the data drive the decisions, but never let those decisions, really impact negatively what happens with the people. And the people is both the customers and the staff.
Planning your next step takes work, and far too often, far too many of us don't do it. Planning your next move requires objective, third-party input. We all need those in our life who will tell us when we're on track and when we aren't. Not what we want to hear, but what we need to hear. And you're going to need to hear what Scott Fischer has to say in our next episode of Conversations. But for now, go sell something, will ya?